Let's get right into it. Lazy Rookie. The lazy rookie always has a plan, but that plan always begins with two words, tomorrow. And often, tomorrow never actually comes. His assignment was due in a week. His friends were already buried in books, while he was lying flat on his bed, phone in hand, muttering, "Relax, I'll figure it out tomorrow." Then tomorrow came, and the familiar mantra rang out again. Well, tomorrow will do too. This loop of procrastination just kept replaying like a boring playlist on repeat. Only when the countdown clock had just a few hours left did Lazy Rookie finally snap awake. The keyboard clacked furiously, his heart pounded, and sweat dripped down his face like he'd just sprinted a 100-meter dash. This is the beginner sloth stage, the level where things do get done, but only when the house is already on fire does he bother to fetch water. His brain always chooses instant gratification over long-term effort. A TikTok clip, a Netflix episode, a game, all far more tempting than writing a 2,000-word essay. He believes in last-minute miracles. And yes, sometimes inspiration really does strike in the nick of time. But other times? Nope. The result is usually a rough, messy product, the kind of essay so rushed that teachers can only shake their heads. If life were a football match, Lazy Rookie would be the guy holding on to his ultimate skill all game long, only to unleash it in the 89th minute. The problem? Sometimes that shot soars straight out of the stands. Just kidding. Procrastinator. This guy doesn't deny the work at all. On the contrary, he always knows exactly what to do, even making a checklist on paper. But instead of getting right to it, he chose to manage time in his own unique way by waiting until the last minute. Is the assignment due at 11:59 p.m.? He opens his laptop at 10 p.m., project deadline in 3 days, relaxing on TikTok, going for coffee, playing games, only to go into overdrive on the very last day. And strangely enough, under that suffocating pressure, his brain suddenly started working like a supercomputer, ideas poured out, and the keyboard clattered like he was hacking NASA. What's even more dramatic is the clock flashed 11:30, hands were tapping, sweat was dripping, hearts were pounding, but he just sat there with a confident look on his face. I've calculated everything. This is no longer elementary laziness, but a kind of deadline adrenaline addiction. He believes that only pressure can awaken genius instincts, and sometimes the results are pretty good. However, the downside is living forever in this whirlwind of a sprint exhausts the body, and the products are sometimes inspired, sometimes like a hot pot that hasn't finished cooking. Therefore, if the lazy rookie is the one being chased by deadlines, the procrastinator deliberately dates with deadlines, treating them as strategic partners, both dangerous and addictive. Next, shortcut seeker. There's a type of laziness that doesn't wait for deadlines to push them, but always finds ways to bend the rules to save effort. Assign a 20-slide presentation? Shortcut seeker didn't panic. He immediately typed, "Best template-free download" into Google. Copy and paste exactly. Change the color a little to make it seem creative, and you're done. If there's any tool that automates the work, he'll be a VIP customer. To the point that if there was a button called Auto Live My Life, he would have pressed it long ago. Ha ha ha. In his eyes, working hard is, outdated. Why write a 2,000-word essay when you have ChatGPT, paraphrasing tools, and it's done in a few clicks? Why bother drawing a chart when you have the magical Excel template? Shortcut seeker has high survival skills. It never gets tired, but the products often look like easily recognizable rehashes. To put it lightly, if life were a game, he would be the player who doesn't level up, doesn't farm monsters, and just waits for a cheat code to jump straight to the final level. And sometimes, unfortunately, That short jump sent him straight down the hole. Comfort zone camper. This kind of laziness isn't about rushing deadlines or finding shortcuts, but because they don't dare to step out of their comfort zone. The comfort zone camper only does what they already know and immediately ignores anything new as if they've never heard of it. Colleagues invited you to try new software? He smiled and shook his head. The old one still works fine. Why bother changing it? The boss assigned a project that requires creativity? He immediately disappeared, citing being busy with familiar old tasks. In the world of camper, every challenge is like a door with a do not enter sign. He set up camp in a safe area, built a fire out of habit, and believed if the old ways still work, why change? The result is stability, but also stagnation. He didn't fail spectacularly, but he never really broke through either. To put it simply, if life is a game, the comfort zone camper is the character who camps in the tutorial area all year round, only fighting level 1 monsters for safety. And while others had ventured to the final boss, Camper remained proud. At least I've never lost a battle. Delegator. If lazy rookie is the last-minute deadline hugger, then Delegator is the master of the art of getting others to do it. Or, to put it more professionally, knowing how to utilize resources. He never directly confronts difficult situations. Instead, he found a very clever way. Hey, you're better at Excel. Can you help me with this table? Or, teacher, our group has divided the work, and this part is exactly that person's area of expertise. In the eyes of outsiders, he's like a brilliant manager who knows how to allocate resources. But in reality, it's just disguised outsourcing skills. The less I have to lift a finger, the better. Sometimes he was even so clever that he turned asking for help into giving others the opportunity to shine. It's a kind of PR so sweet that others not only helped him, but also thanked him. This level of laziness isn't quite like someone who completely shirks work, but more like a self-proclaimed CEO with the team taking care of everything. The only problem? When the whole group realized it at the same time. This CEO was the one who had no merit other than being good at avoiding work. Excuse master. If the delegator is lazy by asking others for help, then the excuse master is lazy by making up scenarios. He has a wealth of reasons that could be written into a novel. Haven't done your homework yet? My laptop randomly updated Windows all night. Are you late for work? The road is congested for dozens of kilometers due to an accident. Not exercising? It's a bit gloomy today. You could easily catch a cold running. What's admirable is that the excuse master never runs out of ideas. His brain functions like an AI machine that constantly generates excuse prompts. He always has a reasonable and plausible answer, to the point where you even have a fleeting doubt. Wow, did there really have to be an earthquake that prevented him from doing the dishes last night? With Excuse Master, the problem is never with him. This world, this universe, the weather, technology, even the neighbor's cat, they are all culprits that hinder progress. He lived in a universe where everything was against him, except for the fact that he simply didn't want to do it. Energy Saver. If Lazy Rookie is a procrastinator, then Energy Saver belongs to the school of thought. Do as little as possible, as long as it's enough to get by. He lived like a phone always in low battery mode. Every action saved every precious drop of battery. Go to work? Only do what's in the job description. Even adding a single line in Excel requires careful consideration of energy. Chores? He swept exactly 1 square meter in front of the door so customers wouldn't complain. But inside, it was as dusty as a museum. Exercise. Come on. Walking from the living room to the kitchen is already considered cardio. Energy Saver never gets tired because he's never run out of battery. For him, overexerting oneself is a waste of resources. Life philosophy. As long as I breathe, the warranty is still valid. The problem is, while Battery Saver mode helps you get through the day, it also makes you miss out on opportunities to fully charge, to learn more, try new things, or even go further. Life doesn't always come with a portable charger, does it? Creative slacker. If Energy Saver only knows how to turn on low battery mode, then Creative Slacker is the true artist of laziness. He's not just lazy, he's invented new ways to be lazy. For example, instead of getting up to get something, he modified his chair with wheels so he could slide across the room like he was in a Formula One race. It doesn't stop there. It sounds absurd, but it's convincing. Many human inventions actually originated from laziness. Elevator? Because no one wants to climb 20 floors. Remote control? Because no one wants to get up every time they change the channel. Robot vacuum cleaner? A more luxurious version of a broom. So the owner doesn't have to sweep the house. Some studies suggest that even great scientists were once driven by creative laziness. Mathematician Alfred North Whitehead once said, "Civilization advances because people seek to do as little work as possible." In other words, laziness can also earn a PhD. Creative Slacker is proof of the truth. Sometimes laziness isn't a sin, but the mother of invention. Philosopher of Laziness. The Philosopher of Laziness goes even further, turning laziness into a way of life. He's not just lazy, he's profoundly lazy, accompanied by arguments that sound very wise. Did you invite him to go to the gym? He waved his hand and smiled. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not to suffer with those lifeless lumps of iron. Did you tell him to do his homework? He mused, time is limited. Why waste it on temporary deadlines instead of contemplating the universe? The lazy philosopher never feels guilty about procrastinating. On the contrary, he has a whole theory of justification. Doing less is the way to maximize serenity. In his eyes, Sisyphus was not a tragedy, but rather too foolish not to lie down and rest. It sounds like minimalist living philosophy, but in reality, it's just a cover for sheer laziness. Instead of stepping out into the real world, the Philosopher of Laziness chose to lie on the sofa, sip a can of soda, and whisper, cogito, ergo, keep sleeping. If the Philosopher of Laziness turned laziness into a philosophy, then the Zen Master of Laziness elevated it to the level of its own religion. He's no longer resisting the work, but becoming one with it. More precisely, it's about becoming one with doing nothing at all. You see him sitting amidst a pile of deadlines, his laptop buzzing, and his phone ringing constantly. Yet, his face remained calm. You ask, why aren't you doing it yet? He smiled. Deadlines are an illusion. Work will eventually pass like clouds, and me, I'll just sit here calmly. The Zen Master no longer procrastinates like a rookie, doesn't need excuses like an excuse master, and doesn't outsource like a delegator. He had reached a state of laziness without feeling guilty. In his eyes, life is just a river, and he is a leaf, letting himself drift along. It sounds chill like a minimalist philosophy of life, but in reality, he accepted defeat from the very beginning. The deadline passed, the work was missed, the opportunity fell into someone else's hands, but the Zen Master remained seated there, eyes closed, breathing deeply and whispering, success or failure is just dust of the world to be dealt with tomorrow. In conclusion, everyone has their own level of laziness. So, what level do you think you're at? Please comment below to let us know. Don't forget, don't be lazy about pressing the like, comment, and subscribe buttons. Because who knows, the next level of laziness might be not doing those 3 small things. Ha ha ha.